Alright, hello everyone. I'm making this quote tutorial video to help those who might have missed a step in setting up SVN in our first lab session, and or for those who missed the lab session. So, the first thing we're gonna do is create the CS360 folder, which is where we're gonna be working. You're gonna do all your work in, and inside this you're gonna turn in your labs, and we'll get to that in a little bit. If you weren't at the lab sessions, then please check out this URL, because there's some stuff in this tutorial that I'm going over that I'm not gonna cover because we covered it in lab session. Some other stuff that you can do in SVN that I'm not gonna talk about in this one. So I'll just look. So I took 360 obviously in the past, and I have this folder. So for those of you who already have a 360 folder, what you can do is you're gonna need to make a new one, because your old one will be linked to an old SVN. So what you'll need to do is just simply say move 360, and you don't need to do this step if you didn't have a 360 folder or you made one during lab session. This is only for people who have a 360 folder that's not up to date with this year's. So I'm just going to move mine into, I'll call it 360 old. So now if I look, my 360 folder is gone, so now I have one called 360 old. Yeah. Alright, cool. So then we're going to just do, we're going to check it out. And you need to replace $user with your net ID. Password, UTK password. Cool. So now I have this 360 folder. Oh my goodness. Alright, nothing's inside. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, the SVN is, but yeah, that's besides the point. Alright, cool. So now that we've made our 360 folder, now we can just, now we create our lab1 folder. So you just make directory lab1. Easy enough. Alright, so now that we're inside of our lab1 folder, you'll want to, get the grade script for lab 1, because this is what your labs, like we talked in lab session, your labs in this class are going to be graded with grade scripts. So for this first one, oh, oops, I'm talking about make files. Anyway, sorry. So for this first one, all your labs have make files. So in this case, we need to go get the make file for this one, and we can do that simply by using wget and then the URL. And this will get us the make file for our first lab. Alright, so connected, blah blah blah, downloaded, cool. So now let's see. Oh cool, look, there's a make file. And so obviously if we try to run the make file, it's gonna say, oh, we haven't created, let's look inside. So it's looking for a file, famtree.c, but it's not there obviously because we haven't created it. But this is the name of your this is the name of the program you're turning in, is famtree.c. So let's exit, and then let's just say vim famtree.c. Alright, cool. So now that we're inside of famtree.c, at the top of all your lab files, you need to have, quote, what's called a boilerplate, which you basically are just going to say name, the lab, lab 1, and then the date. So in this case, I'm recording this video right now, you can, I mean, it doesn't really matter. This date is more for your reference, so you can do it when you first create the file or when you turn in the lab. This is more a reference for you when you come back to look at when you come back to look at your code, like I'm doing for this class. Alright, so now that we have that, if we try to just compile this now, it's obviously not going to work. Because, oh look, undefined reference to main. We need a main. Alright, so let's add in a main so we can actually get this thing to compile and make sure that our make file works, right? So we'll just, you know, most basic thing in C, which you all should be very familiar with now. Just got our good old main argc and then char argv, and then we're just going to return 0 because everything, you know, should work. Make. Alright, cool. So make file worked, which is what these, no errors, you know, no errors, shows GCC, all that good stuff. So it's made an executable. So now we can look and see, oh cool, we have an executable, right? Now we can't do anything really with this executable yet, but I'll cover that in a little bit. So now what we're gonna do is retrieve the grade scripts. So this is what I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about the make file. So now we're gonna go grab the grade scripts for lab 1. So to do this simply, if you want to look and see what he's got, you can just do this. ls home plank 360 labs lab 1. So this shows you all this stuff that he has under his lab 1 folder. But what we want to do is just grab the we're gonna grab the grade all script. Come over here, and we're gonna do something called secure copy, which is what SCP stands for. So we're gonna copy his file grade all, and then we're gonna put it in our directory, and we just say put a dot. So that the dot signifies that we're going to copy that file into this directory. So cool. So now we have his grade all file, and then let's do this again for his second one. There's other one called grade script. Now we have grade script in here, and finally we are going to copy over fam1, which is an example he has. So we have fam1. Yeah, fam1. Which is one of the examples he has in the lab write-up. So if you look at the lab write-up real quickly here, it's this guy. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Alright, so now, if you haven't noticed already, let's see. So at the top, this is even bolded as well. Be familiar with Dr. Planck's FDR library. This will probably be talked about in class, but you will be using fields especially. Read up on all these because you'll need to use all these to complete this lab, and they're very useful. So to process input from a file, which, like we saw in that famtree1 or fam1, we need to process an input file. So we can do that simply by using his fields. Okay, yes. So let's just put this over here real quickly. Let's see, next step, let's yeah, okay. So you can run your program, your famtree, which is the executable you created, and then, you know, give it input like fam1. But I mean, that's not going to do anything because, if we remember, this literally does nothing. But let's... Oh, did I... Okay, sorry, I'm back. I forgot. You're gonna need these 6 includes. I was about to, you know, run this thing and it wasn't gonna work. So we need these includes. which, let's see. I mean, he includes some of these, but these are what you need for this part. So now we have these includes, and then we're going to, if we look back at his example, open the file as an input struct air check. We're gonna need this. Just make our, we're gonna turn our dumb program that instead of returning 0, we're just going to print out the input file that we're given. Alright, and then for those of you who don't know this trick, GG equals capital G, formats, spacing, and indenting. It's cool, now we have that. Actually, I mean, technically I could have just copied this all at once, but yeah. So we'll come back over here and do it again. And I'm going to do GG equals capital G again. To indent. Alright, cool. So then after looking at Plank's examples, this now in theory should, oh, yep, make save changes, ls. We need to remake. Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot to declare both of those things at the top. Alright, cool. Made it. So now that we can run an example of our program for this first lab. So famtree, and then we give it input, which is fam1, and boom, it prints out what's in the file. Now this isn't, you know, what it looks like. If we see, we go back and look at fam1, you know, this. But if you notice, person and Bob, and it prints a 1 in front of it because these are both online. These are both on line 1, right? So yeah, and then, you know, you can look down and see that it, you know, it prints out everything in the file. So this is just an example. Now you have an example of what it's like to use his input reading library. And let's see, is that it? No, of course. Yeah, we still got some more stuff to go. Alright. Back to SVN. That is not in the terminal. Alright, let's see. So back here. Oh, yeah. Before we go, in lab session, we talked about you creating a submissions folder. We're not gonna do that. That's kind of confusing. So what you're gonna do in each of your lab folders, in each of your folders you create for each lab, so in this case lab 1, what you're gonna want to do is just make a directory called submit, right? So, and then this is where you're gonna turn in your stuff, and in this case you only turn in your .c file and your make file. Don't turn in anything else. Yeah, so let's, for example, let me just real quickly say, cool, my program works, right? Everything works. So I'm going to just copy famtree.c into submit, and then copy my make file into submit as well. And let's cd into submit. Alright, cool. So now I'm ready to turn in, right? Basically. Alright, and then, so now, back to SVN. We need to commit our lab1 folder. So let's do svn add lab1. So it adds in all those beautiful files we just created in this tutorial. And then svn commit -m. This is literally the same format as GitHub. I have to add in a, you don't have to add in a message, but it's recommended for both you, like for helping yourself if you look back at your commits, and for us as well if we need to look at your commits or whatever, because it's like, if you say, it's like, oh, I had a commit that it was working in here, but you know, you don't have it labeled or anything, it's really hard to tell. You can't prove stuff. So for everyone's good, try to have some kind of label. So in this case, you're just going to say added in lab1 folder and a test program so I don't fail the first lab. And I'll need to enter in my password. Sending data, boom. Alright, cool, right? So now that it's committed, you're like, well, how do I check that? Well, let's see. We got this wonderful URL. So let's... That's not gonna... Oof. Oh. Interesting. Unable to do... That's interesting. It just pops open, at least on my Windows machine, it's popping open a box right here. Anyway, you click on this link. Oh wait, that's not gonna work. I need to actually edit the URL because you know it's got NetID. Your NetID needs to obviously be replaced with yours. So let's come over here, and then enter in your NetID. X8. Boom. Okay, I was really concerned there for a second because I didn't see my lab1, and I was like, I just put it in. Reload, and then if you're on Windows, you might need to hold down Shift and click the reload button for a hard refresh, just because Chrome especially likes to cache stuff, and it's like, oh, I don't need to reload this web page even though you've made changes or there've been changes on it. So yeah, so now, cool. Now we have a visual quotation mark view of what our files is. So if we look at lab1, we got all of our programs that we were made during this tutorial, and through the submit folder we got our beautiful program that just prints out the stuff, and then we have our make file. And yeah, that's basically it. If you made it this far and everything works, you can pat yourself on the back. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If people found this useful, then I might do a similar-ish thing for our for the tips and tricks for our next lab session, because we don't have lab session because it's you know, Labor Day. But if people found this useful enough, then I can maybe, if I have time, try to do a similar video tutorial thing. Alright, thanks.